The entertainment world is in complete shock. Yandy Smith, the beloved reality TV star, is fighting for her life in the ICU, and doctors are absolutely baffled. Mendeecees Harris has been by her side, devastated as medical experts scramble to understand what's really happening. Fans are heartbroken, social media is in chaos, and the tension inside the hospital is reaching a breaking point. What went wrong? Was this just a sudden health scare, or is there something much darker behind Yandy's condition? Sources close to the family reveal terrifying details, secrets that the public was never supposed to know. And in the middle of it all, Mendeecees, broken and helpless, demanding answers as doctors struggle to stabilize Yandy's condition. Whispers of a shocking revelation inside the hospital hallways could change everything. Stay with us as we break down this unbelievable and gut-wrenching turn of events. Is Yandy going to make it? Or is this the moment that changes everything forever? Keep watching, because what we've uncovered will leave you speechless. The steady beeping of a heart monitor filled the cold, sterile air of the intensive care unit. Machines hummed, IV drips clicked, and a low murmur of nurses and doctors surrounded the hospital bed where Yandy Smith lay motionless, her skin pale, her lips dry, her body unnaturally still. Mendeecees Harris stood frozen at the doorway, his breath shallow, his hands trembling at his sides. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. Yandy, the strong, unstoppable force that held their family together, was now fighting for her life. His heartbeat thundered in his ears as he took a hesitant step forward. His Yandy was covered in wires, an oxygen mask strapped to her face, her chest barely rising and falling beneath the crisp white hospital sheets. She looked nothing like the woman he had kissed goodbye just hours ago. "Doctor, tell me what's wrong with her." His voice came out hoarse, barely recognizable. The lead physician, a man in his late 50s with tired eyes and a tight expression, exhaled sharply. "Mr. Harris, we're still running tests. Right now, her vitals are unstable, and we don't know what's causing it." Mendeecees' stomach dropped. "You don't know?" His voice cracked, and his fists clenched. "You're a doctor. You're supposed to know. My wife is in there dying, and you're telling me you don't have an answer?" The doctor kept his voice calm. "We've ruled out a heart attack and a stroke. But something is attacking her body. We're waiting on the lab results." Mendeecees' head spun. How could this happen? Just this morning, Yandy was fine. She was laughing, talking about the kids, juggling business calls like she always did. How did things go so wrong so fast? He turned back to her. His Yandy, the love of his life. The mother of his children. The woman who had been his rock through everything. And now she was barely holding on. "Baby, wake up, please." He reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. It felt cold. Too cold. The lump in his throat grew bigger. His wife wasn't waking up. The door burst open behind him, and in rushed Judy Harris, his mother. The second she saw Yandy in that hospital bed, a gasp left her lips, her hands flying to her mouth. "Oh, Jesus, no, 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 no." Mendeecees turned to her, his face contorted with pain. "Ma, she just collapsed, out of nowhere. The doctors don't know what's wrong." Judy grabbed his hands, her eyes wild with fear. "What do you mean, they don't know?" Her voice rose, trembling with emotion. "She was fine this morning, Mendeecees. How does someone just heal LAPSA and end up in the ICU?" Mendeecees shook his head, his jaw clenched so tightly it hurt. "I don't know, Ma, but I swear, if something happens to her..." His voice broke. The doctor cleared his throat. "We're doing everything we can. But right now, we need to keep her stable. She's unresponsive, and her oxygen levels are low." Judy shook her head, her face twisted with panic. No, this isn't happening. This isn't happening." Mendeecees wasn't listening anymore. His attention was glued to Yandy. And then, a loud alarm shrieked from one of the machines. His body snapped to attention. What was that? The doctor's face turned grim. Her oxygen levels just dropped. The room exploded into chaos. Nurses rushed to the bed, checking IVs, adjusting tubes, barking orders. One nurse turned to the doctor. "Her breathing is unstable. She's crashing." Mendeecees' blood turned to ice. No, fix it. Do something." He lunged forward, but a nurse blocked him. "Sir, you need to step out. I'm not leaving her." His roar echoed in the room. Another alarm blared. The doctor's face tightened. She's going into respiratory distress. We need to intubate now. Mendeecees lost it. No. What does that mean? What does that mean? Judy was sobbing now. Oh my God, this can't be happening. The doctor's voice was sharp. We need to get her on a ventilator. Nurses scrambled, and before Mendeecees could react, a nurse grabbed his shoulders and shoved him out of the room. The doors slammed shut. And then silence. Mendeecees stood frozen, his breath ragged, his heart hammering. Judy clutched his arm. Oh God, what if she doesn't make it? Mendeecees couldn't answer. Because for the first time in his life, he was truly, completely helpless. The cold, fluorescent hospital lights buzzed above Mendeecees Harris as he paced outside the ICU, his hands clasped together like a desperate man praying for a miracle. He wasn't just praying, he was pleading. God, please, don't take her from me, he whispered under his breath. Behind those sterile white doors, Yandy Smith lay motionless, her body hooked up to more machines than he could count. He could hear the faint beeping of the monitors through the glass, a painful reminder that she was still alive, but barely. Doctors rushed in and out, their faces masked with urgency. Their hushed conversations sent chills down his spine. Every second felt like an eternity. Judy Harris, Mendeecees' mother, sat in the waiting area, hands clasped, lips moving in silent prayer. Even she, the strong, unshakable matriarch of the family, looked broken. Baby, you need to sit down, Judy said gently, reaching for his arm. But Mendeecees shook his head, his jaw tight. I can't. I won't. I need answers. His mind was racing. Just a few hours ago, Yandy was fine. She was laughing, making plans, talking about their future. Now she was fighting for her life, and no one had any damn answers. Just then, the ICU doors burst open. Dr. Whittaker, the lead physician, stepped out, his face grim. Mendeecees' heart nearly stopped. He rushed forward, grabbing the doctor's arm. Tell me something. Anything. Is she going to be okay? The doctor sighed. She's stable, but critical. What does that even mean? Mendeecees' voice cracked with frustration. Dr. Whittaker rubbed the back of his neck, his exhaustion visible. It means she's alive, but she's not breathing on her own. The ventilator is keeping her stable, but we still don't know what caused this. Mendeecees stumbled back, feeling like the floor had been ripped out from under him. Judy let out a choked sob. Lord, have mercy. His chest heaved, anger bubbling beneath his grief. You're telling me she just collapsed out of nowhere, and y'all don't know why? The doctor hesitated. We're running tests. We suspect it could be toxic exposure. Mendeecees froze. His mind snapped to attention. Toxic exposure? You mean like poison? Dr. Whittaker nodded gravely. We can't confirm yet, but her symptoms are concerning. Sudden respiratory failure, a drastic drop in oxygen levels. It doesn't add up. If someone gave her something, we need to find out what. Mendeecees' blood turned ice cold. Judy covered her mouth, her body shaking. Who would do such a thing? Mendeecees' jaw clenched. He had some ideas. There were plenty of people who didn't like Yandy. Plenty of people who wanted to see her gone. Was this just a freak medical crisis, or had someone set her up? His hands balled into fists. Run those damn tests. I need to know who did this, he growled. Doctor. Whittaker nodded, but before he could say anything else, a loud alarm blared from the ICU. She's crashing. A nurse shouted. Mendeecees felt like his soul was being ripped from his body. No, he screamed, shoving past the doctor. But before he could get inside, 2 security guards grabbed him, holding him back. Sir, you can't be in there. Let me go. That's my wife. But it was too late. The doors slammed shut in his face. Through the glass window, he saw pure chaos. Nurses rushed around Yandy's bed, doctors shouting instructions, machines beeping wildly. One of the monitors flashed flatline. Mendeecees felt his knees give out. No. Yandy, fight. Judy fell to her knees beside him, sobbing. Not my baby, Lord, please. The doctor grabbed paddles. Kill-air. Yandy's body jerked violently. Nothing. Mendeecees felt like his heart had stopped. Kill-air. Another jolt. Still nothing. Tears streamed down his face as he gripped the window. Baby, don't do this. Don't leave me. Another shot. Then, a single beep. Another. then another. Her heart was beating again. Mendeecees collapsed into the chair, his entire body shaking. Judy sobbed into her hands. "Doctor." Whittaker rushed out, sweat dripping from his forehead. "She's back," he said, his voice hoarse. "But she's not out of the woods." Mendeecees wiped his face, his breathing right. "I need to see her." The doctor hesitated, then nodded. Just for a moment. Mendeecees didn't waste a second. He stepped inside, the sound of the ventilator filling the silent room. Yandy looked so small, so fragile. He took her hand, squeezing it gently. "Baby, I'm right here." His voice broke. "You scared me to death, but I know you. You're a fighter. You don't back down from anything." He leaned close, whispering, "Who did this to you? Tell me, give me a sign." No movement, no response. Just the steady beep of the heart monitor. He swallowed hard. "I screwed you, Yandy. When I find out who did this, they're going to regret the day they were born." Then, her finger twitched. Mendeecees froze. Yandy. Her eyes fluttered open. Barely, but she wasn't looking at him. She was looking past him. At someone in the doorway, Mendeecees turned, and his blood ran cold. Mendeecees felt his entire world crumble the moment he saw Samantha Wallace standing in that hospital doorway. His breath caught in his throat, his fists clenched so tightly that his knuckles turned white. For a brief moment, he thought he was imagining things. Maybe exhaustion was messing with his head. But no, she was really there, standing with that smug look on her face, like she'd been waiting for this exact moment. "What the hell are you doing here?" His voice was raw, filled with a mixture of rage and disbelief. Samantha stepped forward, her heels clicking against the tile floor. She glanced over at Yandy, lying unconscious in the hospital bed, before meeting Mendeecees' eyes with a slow, calculated smirk. "I heard about what happened," she said casually, tilting her head. "Came to see if she made it." Mendeecees felt something inside him snap. That tone, that attitude, that complete lack of concern for what had just happened to Yandy. It was like she knew something he didn't, and it made his stomach churn. If she made it? His voice was dangerously low. "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" Samantha let out a dry chuckle. "Relax, Mendeecees. I didn't do anything. But I did warn her." His hands balled into fists. "Warn her about what?" She took another step closer, her eyes locked on Yandy's fragile body. "Warned her that being with you would eventually destroy her." Mendeecees' body went rigid. Samantha wasn't just talking. She was hinting. He could feel it in his gut. "You think this is funny?" His voice shook with rage. "You think this is some kind of game? Yandy is fighting for her life right now, and you're standing here acting like you knew this was gonna happen." Samantha smirked. "That's the thing, Mendeecees. I didn't just know. I made sure." Silence. A cold, suffocating silence that made the walls of the hospital room feel like they were closing in. Then, Mendeecees lunged. If it wasn't for the nurse walking in at that exact moment, he would have lost it. He was seeing red, his body trembling with fury, but he forced himself to stop. This wasn't the time. Not yet. "You did this?" His voice was ice. Samantha didn't flinch. She didn't even try to deny it. "I didn't touch her," she said smoothly. "But I told you before, you were playing with fire." Mendeecees' jaw tightened so hard it hurt. "Get the hell out," he growled. Samantha just smiled and walked out like she hadn't just dropped a nuclear bomb in the middle of his world. He turned to the doctor, his entire body tense. "Run those tests. Now, I need to know what's in her system." The doctor nodded and rushed out. Juby, Mendeecees' mother, grabbed his arm, her grip shaking. "Son, what did she mean? Who would do this?" Mendeecees didn't have an answer, but he damn sure was about to find one. The toxicology report confirmed his worst nightmare. Yandy had been poisoned. A rare, slow-acting toxin had been found in her bloodstream, something designed to weaken her over time. It wouldn't kill immediately, but if left untreated, it would shut down her organs piece by piece. And the most chilling part? The poison was found in her food, a meal she had eaten just the night before she collapsed. Mendeecees' heart pounded as he replayed the night in his head. They had ordered food. It was delivered from a place they trusted. And there was only one person who had direct access to that meal before it got to Yandy. His blood ran cold. A name surfaced in his mind, one that he never, ever thought he'd have to suspect. Kimbella, Yandy's so-called best friend. Mendeecees didn't waste a second. He called her, his voice sharp as a blade. "We need to talk." Now, Kimbella hesitated. "Mendeecees, what's wrong?" "You sound—" "I know, Kimbella." His voice was devoid of emotion. "I know everything." Silence. Then, after a beat, "Where are you?" 30 minutes later, they were standing face to face. Mendeecees slammed the toxicology report on the table, watching Kimbella's reaction like a hawk. Poison in her food. Kimbella's face went pale. "Mendeecees, I don't lie to me." Kimbella took a step back, her voice shaky. "I swear I had nothing to do with that." Mendeecees' eyes darkened. "Then why was your name on the food delivery order?" Kimbella's breath hitched. She looked away. I was just helping. Yandy was busy, and I thought, "Don't play with me." Kimbella. Tears welled in her eyes. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. I just wanted her to pay." Mendeecees' stomach dropped. She really did it. She tried to kill Yandy, but why? Was it jealousy? Revenge? Mendeecees clenched his fists. "You were supposed to be her best friend." Kimbella's voice broke. "I was. But she betrayed me first." Mendeecees shook his head, his chest heaving. "You don't get to decide who lives and who dies." Kimbella swallowed hard. "I just wanted her to suffer. I didn't think it would get this bad." Mendeecees exhaled sharply, his jaw tight. "It's too late for that now." She tried to run, but Mendeecees wasn't done. The police were already outside. As she reached for the door, 2 officers stepped in, blocking her escape. Mendeecees didn't say a word as they cuffed her. She turned to him, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry." Mendeecees' expression didn't change. She wasn't sorry. She was just caught. Back at the hospital, Yandy slowly opened her eyes as Mendeecees walked in. She looked weak, fragile, but alive. "Mendeecees?" Her voice was barely a whisper. He sat beside her, taking her hand gently. "It's over, baby," he murmured. "Kimbella's gone." Tears filled Yandy's eyes. "But why?" Mendeecees sighed, brushing his thumb over her knuckles. "She was never your friend." A heavy silence filled the room. Yandy squeezed his hand. "Thank you for saving me." Mendeecees nodded, his jaw still tight. This ain't over yet. Because deep down, he knew. And just like that, the truth came out. But was it really over? Or was there more to this story than anyone realized? What do you think? Was Kimbella acting alone, or was someone else pulling the strings behind the scenes? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want a more jaw-dropping drama, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the next shocking twist. Because trust me, this is just the beginning. Move now.